they celebrate back-to-back games where they've scored 4 goals in claiming the 3 points. They went behind in this one 14 minutes in when Rodrigo Bentancur prodded home from close range, but 2 goals in 2 minutes just past the halfway point in that first half. Turned things in Leicester's favour. Papi Mendy has waited 7.5 years and 108 Leicester games to strike a goal for the Foxes. His first goal since his time in France, and it was a belter and well worth waiting for. Tielemans-esque, you may say, the man he replaced, and from the edge of the box, right-footed, he's fired one in between the hand of Forster, the goalkeeper, and the bottom of the bar. That thinks things level. 2 minutes later, James Maddison struck another goal, his 9th of the season, 7 in his last 11. Iheanacho, the architect, along with Fass behind that one. 3-1 right on half-time. Iheanacho scoring his 5th goal in 5 starts this season. A beautiful finish from the edge of the box. Precision into the corner after he toyed with Eric Dyer. Second half, Leicester thought they got the 4th, but Barnes' goal was ruled out after a VAR call on offside. But with 10 minutes to go, he did score his 8th goal of the season. Similar to Iheanacho, picking the bottom corner of the goal, beating Dyer, beating the goalkeeper, to send King Power Stadium into full celebrations after sealing another 3 points. Jerry Taggart has watched on throughout the afternoon and what has been a great afternoon here at King Power Stadium.
Yeah, phenomenal game of football. You say 2 teams trying to win a game of football, and invariably you get the entertainment and the quality that everybody wants, and that's exactly what we got today. You know, credit to Tottenham, they came here, tried to win a game, but Leicester, I mean, after going behind, what a performance to come back and absolutely blow Tottenham off the park. How often have we said that about Leicester and Tottenham games? Not too often, that's how many times I've said it. But credit to Leicester, you know, as a team, to a man, that's probably one of the best performances I've seen all season, to be honest.
Leicester players going around the field and applauding the supporters that applaud them back. 4 goals, 3 home debutants, 1 man of the match, Jerry Taggart.
Yeah, well, first of all, James Maddison, fantastic again for me. Head and shoulders, you know, the most composed player on the pitch. And he's, you know, let's face it, he's amongst some good players here today. But, you know, he's just, at the minute, he's playing on a different level. Kelechi Iheanacho the same. I mean, I think a goal and an assist, at least 1 assist anyway. Might have been 2, memory fails me, but definitely 1 goal and assist. But Harvey Barnes again, you know, Tete coming in has given Harvey Barnes the boost that he's needed. Again, at times phenomenal from him. Tottenham defence just couldn't live with his pace and his power today. But, and it's a big but you'll probably never ever hear me say this again, or many other people, and not because he's not a good player, but because of the influence he has on winning a game of football. And today, because of his influence and getting Leicester back in the game, and in the way he got Leicester back in the game, I have to give it to Papi Mendy, because I don't think I will ever see what I saw again. So for that reason, I'm not I have to give it to him. It's as simple as that.
A memorable day in so many ways at King Power Stadium. A Papi Mendy goal, a Papi Mendy man of the match, and hopefully the team in the studio clipped up Jerry Taggart praising the referee. Full time, Leicester 4, Spurs 1.
Thank you very much, John. Yeah, you know the result must be good if Jerry Taggart is praising the referee. Fantastic performance from Leicester there. They were 1-0 down. There was a bit of worry, wasn't there, Matt? But we needn't be worried because that was excellent. 4-1, could have been 5-1.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, great stuff, wasn't it? Great stuff. And Jerry's mentioned there all the right people, could have mentioned a few more, in fact. But I think ultimately he's got the choice right as well with Papi Mendy. I don't think there'll be too many complaints, even though there was a massive input by several other players, as Jerry mentioned there. But it was, yeah, half sort of like pinching yourself a little bit. I know Tottenham are not sort of Man City of the last few years or so, but they're still, a huge club, aren't they? The rivalry that Leicester have had since the win in the Premier League, it's been quite fierce, and more often than not, Leicester have come unstuck against them because the supposed better all-round quality that comes through from Tottenham Hotspur players. Today, that didn't materialise, did it? The players that showed up, that showed that real quality today, were all in blue shirts. That was lovely to see, and it was really nice for the supporters. It's satisfying, wasn't it, as well? Certain comments from the away fans early on, they were thrown back in their faces, weren't they, by the performance of the Foxes on the pitch. And quality goals, hard working, intelligent play, well organised, swift in attack or counter attack, and had a bit of everything. As Matt mentioned about the Villa performance last week, similar today, but on an even higher level.
Yeah, it was brilliant. How do you sum up what you've just seen?
Whole place is buzzing. Just absolutely rocking. The fans were right behind it, obviously with the 3 new signings coming in for their home debuts. Tete wasn't too much involved, but he gives that balance, and the team, every single one of them out there, just were committed to it. That hard work, that endeavour, making it difficult for Tottenham from the first minute to the very last. And even second half, I can't really remember Tottenham having a shot second half. It was one-way traffic. Harvey Barnes was unlucky not to get 2.
It's a good point. Leicester were never rocked, were they, really, when they were ahead? There was no worry that...
Ward hadn't made a save, is he?
Yeah.
Second half.
I think there was the Son wild attempt, and they were desperate at that point, and that would have been a mere consolation. But there's nothing. It just shows that even someone like Harry Souttar has come into it. It just offers that presence, just a bit of steadiness alongside Fass. At times who did really well, but other times he can go all over the place and just reassuring it. Christensen was on everything. Whenever Son received Kulevski, he was onto that first ball, making it difficult. They weren't able to turn, and then Leicester pinched the ball, regain, and then broke really quick. And then in the end, just the whole place has been lifted. And then back to back, 4 goals in the last 2, 8 goals across it. So 4 and 4 again. It's just looks different. Chalk and cheese from what it was before at the turn of the year, and then all of a sudden 3 players come in and the whole place is lifted, and it was just a brilliant performance.
Jerry, obviously I know you were on co-commentary, you were sat in the stadium, we were back in the studio by the time that the final whistle went. What was that moment like? What was the noise like? You said probably performance of the season. Was that backed up by the supporters at full time, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. In fairness, there was a few that had left supporters on both sides, to be fair. But yeah, I think, they've got to go home happy tonight. There's no doubt about that. Just going back to what Matt said, yeah, the back 4 I thought was excellent tonight. I love the look of Victor Christensen. I really do. I think he's a proper defender. He's a defender's defender. Do you know what I mean, Matt? But I just love the look of him. The 2 centre halves look solid today for the most part. So yeah, like Matty Fred just said, the balance of the team, defence through the midfield, through the front line, it just clicked. It looked good. It looked balanced. It looked solid when it needed to. The work rate was there. The quality was there from those 2 protagonists, in particular Maddison and Iheanacho. So yeah, I mean, it was a top performance today against, a big club with some big players.
Yeah, they've got to be absolutely delighted today.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know, it's just really exciting to watch, really. I think, and again, it just makes it even better, even more special. They've come back from going a goal down again. That's three games on the trot now. That's not an ability that they've had in the first part of this season, and it's something that's really valuable, really, because teams, you can develop a mentality, can't you? And teams can also do that against you, knowing that they get ahead of, you're not coming back at them, they get confident, but teams can't take Leicester for granted anymore like that at all. And there's so much quality really within that that attacking part of the team. You know, the front, what would we say, front five at least, and today Mendy. So it's made that front six his goal scoring contribution. But you've also got the fullbacks there that will bomb forward when required. I think they were relatively conservative today because the other boys were doing the damage because they knew they needed to stay back for Kulusevski and Son. So they need to be aware they didn't want to overcommit. But they have that capability to get forward. You'll see it more and more from Christensen and Castagna, also Ricardo coming back. You'll see it even more from him. So there's more strings to Leicester's bow, coming to the fore. But it's you look at that before. I mean, I don't want to be blasé and I don't want to be complacent, but even last week I said this is not a relegation-haunted team or a team that's even probably going to flirt with relegation. And I hope I don't come to the point where I have to eat my words, but to me, I can't see. I don't even contemplate them.
6 points clear now.
6 points, yeah, okay, but that's gainable or redeemable from the other teams below, but they've all got to catch them for that as well, which makes it more difficult. But like I say, without being complacent at all, I just think Leicester have got too much to worry about that.
Look, I mean, there's less.
Look ahead of them.
There's
look
less of a
them,
gap to Liverpool, for example.
Exactly. Look ahead. Like Leicester are more likely to end up, in the top half, aren't they? Top half team than a relegation scrap. But listen, you have to be wary of all sorts. But Brendan Rodgers will be delighted with the players coming in and the effect it's had. James Maddison, Jerry mentioned it. He's done the right decision and given it to Mendy, man of the match. Maddison was the classiest player out there.
Yeah, Kelechi Iheanacho was definitely in the conversation. Jerry as well, wasn't he? A couple of assists, obviously the goal as well. He was, well, it's the same as last week. I think he got 2 assists and a goal last week at Villa, didn't he, as well? So that's been a remarkable return for him in 2 games.
Absolutely. He's had his doubters. There's been people clambering for him to start. Brendan, for whatever reason, hasn't chosen to use him in front of the likes of Patson Decker or Jamie Vardy, but he played him in the cup game. He scored a goal, and from then he's just kept scoring and creating and assisting. Sorry, and that's all you can do as a centre forward, I suppose. Yes, there is another side to football than just putting the ball into the back line, and that may be one of the reasons why Kelechi hasn't had as much game time as we can clearly see that he that would suggest that he deserves. But you have to ask from inside the dressing room the reason for that. But definitely at the minute, he had Eric Dyer on a piece of string for his goal. It was quite. I mean, I'm not saying it was the most difficult defender to get round. No disrespect to Eric Dyer at the time, but the way, the calmness of his finish is ridiculous. It really was. He's just passed the ball into the corner, after just dancing around and playing with him for a bit like a cat with a ball on a bit of string. Simple as that. He was fantastic today, Iheanacho.
It was quite similar, Jerry, to Harvey Barnes' finish, really, wasn't it? From the outside of the box, stroking it home. Yeah,
again, Dyer just backs off, lets Harvey turn, get on his right foot, and it's about, we spoke about your level of composure. Matty Fratt will tell you about that. When you get yourself into those situations, goal-scoring situations, it's frantic in and around there. Frantic. But once you open yourself up and your first touch, get the ball out of your feet, then you have to calm yourself in a split second to pull off the finish. And that's what Harvey Barnes showed there. A great deal of composure. After getting turned, getting the ball where he wants it, in a frantic situation, now compose yourself and carry it through. Fantastic. 2 fantastic finishes.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they all were. Like James Maddison's finish was very good, wasn't it, Matty? We spoke briefly about it at half-time, that one of those where you think he might go across the goalkeeper and he just slots it in the near post.
All of the finishes, top draw. Clinical today. You look at Mendes, hardly had any. That was the spot he was going for, rose into the top corner. Then Maddison, he's whipped it into the near side. Then you think Iheanacho, precision, just curling it to that far side. Again, the Barnes finish where he's...
Both of them, the offside one and the...
You're offside by a toe, it's pathetic, in all honesty. It could have been 5, he's offside by a toe. I think you give that goal rather than dragging it back. But again, brilliant finish into the far corner. And then at the end, got on that half turn and then just placed it. And Forster, maybe with Lloris, would he have got down quicker, but it's right in the corner. And the finishing today was, I don't think Leicester had loads of chances, even though they dominated the play and was into the final thirds. But the finishing was, it was brilliant throughout.
Harvey Barnes in the first 30 seconds turned Pedro Porro, didn't he?
Yeah.
The debutant. That was a key moment, you'd feel, for Harvey, wasn't it? Because that gave him such confidence going into the rest of the game.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. It seems to sort of work that way with Harvey a little bit. Sometimes he starts well and drifts out of games, but sometimes, like you say, if he comes up against someone and it doesn't quite work for him at the start, perhaps confidence within a game itself is a bit of an issue for him. Starts well, he normally continues to play well and be a threat. That was probably as consistent a threat as he's been throughout the whole game. I've seen him have better games with more impact over the course of 90 minutes, but in terms of the whole game there, with the goal that was disallowed, that little turn earlier, it was a threat, and he was weaving and running at the Tottenham defence on numerous occasions, and then he eventually gets his goal from central position, actually, where he used to play when he was younger. He's equally adept in that sort of number 10 role. Perhaps it would be easier for him to finish from those sort of positions. He's got more variety in that area, but yeah, he was consistent like for the whole duration of the game, wasn't he? He tends to fade at certain stages, but again, as usual, I've said it numerous times. I know what he's capable of, and people have seen quite regularly what he's capable of. If he could produce that even more consistently, what a player you've got. But we'll see if that ever quite materialises. But just looking at the stats there that have been rolled up on the screen, they're not too much different from Tottenham's. There's a couple more
possession was
shots
equal, wasn't it?
Possession equal, but big chances 2-0. That sounds about right. Whatever. But the biggest one there, the factor that Matt has touched on it, is tackles. And you don't often take too much consideration of how many tackles gone in the game. 26-9 in Leicester's favour. They were buzzing around here, there and everywhere, intercepting, reading situations, being brave, going in tight with players. Christensen has been mentioned already in particular. Fass did ever so well after getting that card early on. Suto was doing it. Dewsbury Hall was breaking up. Mendy was breaking it up. Amongst Maddison was nicking the ball a few occasions as well. That was probably the biggest factor on... I suppose, of course, the goals themselves that you mentioned, but they were the...
But on the stats, you don't get a stat for intensity. That was the difference between the two teams. Leicester were on it. Tottenham, they looked shell-shocked.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, oh, don't tackle us. Oh, don't like that
tackle
pressure.
sort of reflects that a little bit.
And then the graph would be Leicester outworked Tottenham, and they didn't like it. So some of the defensive players, they were shell-shocked. It was like, they wanted to get off the pitch. You could tell them they went in. I don't think Kane had any service. Kulievski, he was very quiet. Son, barely mentioned those players. And in terms of numbers, you can see the effort, and obviously being live, Leicester were just all over Tottenham, and then that spurred the crowd on, and the players, you just felt that energy go throughout the team, and Tottenham, they just looked sorry, which is a nice feeling, especially for the Leicester players, and they grew in the confidence.
We concentrated on Kieran Dewsbury Hall before the game, didn't we? Because he was the interview leading into the game with Spurs. You spoke about it, and what a brilliant game he had. There was a period when I think Benton Kerr was down injured, and the crowd was singing Kiernan's song for about 5 minutes straight when there was no play in the game.
He must have been tempted to join in as well.
Yeah, you wanted to.
We nearly did, yeah.
But that sums up A, the game he was having, B, what the Leicester fans feel about him, and C, the potential that he's got.
The amount of regains, how many times did he intercept it, block passing lanes or get tight to his man? It was just relentless. I think a stat came up early in terms of his passing and all that type of thing, but it was actually the energy, the drive of the play, and then breaking it up and going forward. So I can be really pleased with his work, as can the rest of the team. I felt that all the Leicester players were on it. They wanted it more than Tottenham today, which for a Tottenham perspective you can't be too pleased with, but Leicester, they just didn't let them breathe, and in the end, it was only going to be only one win, and we said it before, it'd be tight, maybe a score draw, and Leicester just blew them away, which was an outstanding performance.
Yeah, was there a bit of worry amongst yourself, Jerry, and John Dunn, obviously on commentary with you, when Spurs went ahead? There was a few nervy moments from the corners, but but they did really well, kind of like they did at Villa. Okay, in a little bit longer time at Villa, they hit back immediately. Today took them about 10 minutes or so, but getting an equaliser back early is very important, isn't it?
Yeah, I think when you analyse the game up until the point when Tottenham scored, and it was purely down to the quality from Perisic from that side. He put a corner in just before that Christensen need over the bar from, save from a certain goal for Tottenham. Great bit of defending from him. Obviously nothing he could do about the second one. He gets a foot on it, just places it in to the path of Benkentur. There's nothing he could do. Tottenham take the lead, but up until that point, Dan, it's not like Tottenham were, on top, or Leicester looked fragile. Yes, there was one or two, again, those giving the ball away deep in your own half, inside your own box, in fact, that gives me the willies, shall I say. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty even game, so I wouldn't say there was an air of nervousness or worry, because it was a pretty even game, and Leicester actually started the game pretty well for a change in regards to ball retention and getting into Tottenham's half. But obviously you've got to convert. It wasn't even a chance, was it? Well, it was a chance for Mendy, but it was a wild chance. The odds stacked cleanly against Mendy converting that opportunity, but he did. He did. I still can't get over it. What a goal. What a finish. But sometimes that's what it takes. I'm not saying that would have been, if he hadn't scored that Tottenham would have went on and won. Leicester would have created more opportunities. There's no doubt about that. But when you concede the first goal, it just puts you on the back foot slightly, and it's how you react. And so clearly, there's a mentality now in the dressing room that they believe that they can win any game of football through any situation. And they've showed that 2 games running now. So it speaks for itself, Dan. That there, went behind twice against Villa, came back and won. They've gone behind here today. They've come back and won convincingly, not just convincingly, and scored 8 goals in 2 games. That's not bad. That's not a bad return.
Not bad at all. Obviously, you watched on the TV, like the rest of us last week, Jerry, the Aston Villa game away from home. So you've seen now Harry Souttar in person. Both he and Wout Faes managed to keep Harry Kane so quiet, didn't they, today? 18 goals in 15 games against Leicester, previously in the Premier League before today. How impressed were you with him? Yeah,
I think, he does what it says on the tin. You've got yin and yang there, haven't you, basically? I think Matty Fred mentioned him earlier. Wout Faes wants to win every ball, wants to get involved, comes flying out of defence, at times completely loses his shape, but he's trying to do the right thing, so you forgive him for that. And you can't forgive him for that when you have someone behind him who goes, okay, let's readjust, let's shore it up, let's stay calm. And Harry Souttar is giving them that at the minute. He's just assured. He doesn't try and do something he can't. He knows what he's good at. There's still room for improvement in certain areas of his game. At the end of the day, he's come from the Championship. He stepped up. But you've got to say, as a pair, they complement each other's personalities, which is a good thing.
We kind of guessed that, didn't you, Matt, really? But even before the Villa game, you saw the two of them and you thought how they might play with each other. That was the way they were going to go. Faes probably the more aggressive one that goes in and tries to win the ball. Souttar in behind, maybe to tidy it up.
Yeah, 2 level. I think like Souttar, he can put himself about if he needs to. He can look after himself, but it's more discreet, maybe, shall we say, more subtle, more composed, and Faes at times worries you a little bit, but ultimately, more often than not, he does very well. But just occasionally it goes a little bit awry. But he seems a little bit on more of an even keel, doesn't he, Souttar? But the physicality of him, is natural because of his pure size. I mean, he got a great header in. I think it was still 3-1 at the time. Son put a free kick in on the angle from the left-hand side. It was drifting in and around towards the far post, one of those difficult ones for goalkeepers to deal with. Super header, sort of last man challenge, really. Would have caused Ward problems, but it was a great header. It just went a little bit unnoticed, but he's very dependable, isn't he? You can see, you can sense that already. Doesn't do anything too rash, as Jerry mentioned. Can play a bit as well. Can pick a pass when he needs to. Good mix.
And Christensen yet again performed really well.
He did. He was superb. Just on to everything. Didn't let Kulevski breathe. In fact, afterwards, I think Kulevski will be ready to have a breather. He was like, "Let me out of my pocket" sort of style. He was just on it, and that's what you want to see. That tenacity, making it difficult for his opponent, and then the regains breaking forward, as said. But the 3 new signings have just added a bit more balance to the team, and they've just fitted in, settled in so well in a short amount of time, and it's also lifted the rest of the squad as well, the fans, and just a completely different feel to how things were to how it is now, from 3 players come in, settled well, and it gives balance throughout, like say yin and yang sort of Sutar there, Christensen, his effort and commitment to it, intensity, and Tete, he's got the speed, the touch, and offers balance by both sides, and you can bring Maddison in. So all in all, it's looking really positive without getting too carried away of ourselves, but at the minute it only looks positive and Leicester can progress forward.
Yeah, I think, as we were saying before the game, Jerry, there was a renewed optimism, wasn't there? Even coming to King Power Stadium today, you felt that from the supporters, you felt it from ourselves, that because of the signings, because of how well last week went, that there was an air of confidence going into the game today, and let's hope that continues, of course.
Yeah, I think, when you go away from home and score 4 goals, then, the 2 that you concede can be quickly wiped under the carpet. And in some situations, rightly so, because I think the forward display last week was excellent from Leicester City. So that's where that renewed optimism comes into play. So turning up today, you're playing against Tottenham. They've just beaten Man City at home, which obviously is a massive result for them. So there's a little bit of trepidation involved with that optimism. Because it's a Tottenham team who are in decent form. But, I mean, clinical. I used the word clinical right at the beginning. When the opportunities come along today for Leicester, they have to be clinical. And that's exactly what they were. They were clinical at all the right times. And so they not only deserved this result, it was cut and dried, in that second half performance, the way they finished Tottenham off.
I feel like we could talk about this result and that performance and the goals for a good hour, if not longer now. But if you do want to hear that, then you can do so on Extra Time on Monday evening. So from 6 till 7 on Monday evening, it will be Jerry Taggart, Tony Cotter, Ewan Roberts and myself assessing that victory. Then we've got Matchday Live in just over a week's time. That's on Sunday, the first Sunday game for a while. A trip to Manchester United. They'll be full of confidence heading up to Old Trafford to hopefully get something from there, as they have done for the last couple of seasons. You can also listen to or watch the latest episode of Leicester's The Place. Matt Elliott and Jerry Taggart in conversation with Steve Guppy. But that's pretty much all we've got time for here at King Power Stadium today on a fantastic afternoon for the Foxes. Thanks to Matty Fryer, to Matt Elliott and to Jerry Taggart for their company on yet another brilliant afternoon.